Yo, yo, welcome to another episode of Green Gridiron Exchange. I am your lead host, Coach Green, and I'll be joined by co host Royce Willer. So I want to welcome him in. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Happy to be here. Another Wednesday, man. We got some football going on tomorrow, so I'm just excited to get everything going. Got a good guest on tonight, so just excited to get everything going for the night.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all of you who are just joining in with us, if you could hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and share it. You know, a lot of young men, young players, they may want to get in. I know some of you guys probably just getting out of practice, may have been home for a while and just want to kick back and hear some stuff about what's going on around the county, and maybe who knows, you may hear your name tonight on the show. So, without further ado, we're gonna jump right in. And first topic I want to just hit on real quick before we bring in our special guest is players. We've been telling you guys to make sure that you send your stats and your highlights, all your accolades. Make sure you put those things in our inboxes so that way we can highlight and make sure we are putting out the right information, correct information, and accurate information. We want to make sure that coaches, schools, different recruiters, they're able to see this information and have this information relatively available for them. So when it comes time for recruitment and it comes time for you guys to get noticed and to get recognition, you guys are getting those things. So just wanted to start off right off the bat to say, please, when we post stuff and it says to inbox us your stats, do that and make sure that the stuff is accurate because we have a way to go back and check to make sure that the stuff that you're sending us is the truth and it's the right things that you guys are giving us. Is Russ, did you have anything you wanted to add on to that?
Nah, man. We consistently put inbox to stats, inbox to stats, inbox to stats. Um, One thing I want you guys to always know is I always try to go and check the stats. We try to inbox coaches. We try to give everyone the time to send those stats before we put up those weekly top players. If you guys notice, we start putting the top players in about Sunday. We don't usually stop till about Tuesday because we still have a lot of stats rolling in. But most of those stats are either coming from max preps or they're coming directly from your coaches, or they're coming from they're coming from people like Andy who attend these games, you know what I'm saying, and are there seeing these things live. So if it's not witnessed or if it's not seen by somebody who we highly look at, such as Florida High Sports, like I say, Scorebook, if Green's not at the game, if I'm not at the game, or if we don't get it from the coaches itself, we're not going to post it. So um, even if it's inaccurate in your eyes, understand that we've gotten it from somebody or even from Max Preps. So just go ahead and send that stuff in, guys. And we're gonna always try. We always want to see you guys shine. There's no team that we love more than the other. So that's that. And what we got next on the agenda, Green?
So next on the agenda, we're going to bring in our special guest for tonight. So most of you may know him. I won't say much about him. I'll let him talk about himself. So we want to bring on Mr. Andy V, man. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thank you guys for having me here tonight. I'm excited to talk about some Pinellas County football.
Awesome,
Sir, yes,
awesome.
sir, yes, sir. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. We go. What we go do is we're gonna go over our top 10 real quick. Then we go ask Andy a few questions about himself, man. See what he can go ahead and tell us about the local sports scene and about Pasco and about some of the other surrounding areas. So before we get into that, let's just go over our top 10. You guys cool with that?
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right,
Let's do
cool,
it.
cool. So I'm gonna have our top 10 across the bottom here. As you guys can see, it's gonna be in the ticker, and we're also gonna share our screen. So give me one moment. Um, so our top 10 has not changed much. It has changed a little bit. Of course, we had some teams lose last week, but as we have here, we have CCC sitting at number one. They are 3-0. They are the top dog. Of course, they are the state runner up, and they started off the year number two And of course, we saw Cavalry. I mean, we saw CAI take some losses. Who started off at number one. We have Cavalry at number two. Even though they took a loss, against a highly ranked team. They still showed up. Me and Green, as we talked about it, we knew that this was going to be a tall task with all of the D1 players they had, including Jordan Magwood, who we've seen personally in person, and he showed up big time in that game. We got Palm Harbor, who's 3-0. They showed up against the local competition they played against, and they have 3 home games coming up. One home game against our number 8 team. We have Largo, who, of course, they have the experience. They lost to a tough Lakeland team, but they bounced back and got some reps against a okay Bogey team, and they showed up as they should have, and they went ahead and did what they needed to do. We got Northeast, who came in and assaulted Gibbs. That's the word for
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
They assaulted Gibbs, man, and killed our upset
Great
alert.
harassment.
Yeah. So we got that. That was a whooping, man. Trey Worley came out the first half, and they had Mario Plummer come and finish it off, man. But they had some players emerge who we're going to talk about. We got Clearwater 2-0. They're going in against a tough number 1 team. We were going to put them as our game of the week, but we like, to go ahead and show Palm Harbor Tarpon Springs some love. So we got them as our game of the week. But man, if it wasn't for that, Clearwater and CCC would definitely be that. So they're playing against a tough CCC team. Does Clearwater have the talent? Yes. It's not as high to me as CCC, but we'll get into that. We got P Park with that defense, man. That defense with that line. Just between 3 guys, we have 17 sacks on the line so far this year. The defense is showing up as we said they would with Cunningham at linebacker. We got a good secondary. We just need to, as I've said before, we just need to see an arm out of P Park. Tarpon Springs is facing Palm Harbor. We got Indian Rocks entering the top 10. They are 3-0. They're undefeated. They haven't played the greatest competition, but they're 3-0. They're doing what they're supposed to do with what's in front of them. So we had to honor that, and Seminole as well with 2-0 as well. So guys, what do you think about this top 10? Where do you have some of these teams ranked? What would you change as far as what you see? Go ahead. We'll let Andy go ahead and slide in there.
All right. I mean, gotta like CCC at number 1. The state runner-ups from last year in Class 1M. Calvary at number 2. I can go with that. I mean, I got to see him in a practice. You got Air Force commitment, Jacob Drackett at quarterback. Sean Cuno just picked up a Virginia offer today. That offensive line, I got to say, is massive, especially seeing it in person. I mean, I'm already a little guy, but I felt really little next to them. And then you get into the field a little bit, and not that I'm down on Largo or any of these teams. I mean, they face some tough competition, but I feel like you start to enter kind of any one of these teams can really just beat each other with the next 3, I would say, because you got Clearwater, who beat Northeast 21-18. Northeast, obviously, with that big win over Lakewood to start the season. I think that was an eye-opener to a lot of people that may not know kind of the environment of Pinellas County football at this time. Because when people around the state think of Lakewood, you think of that Lakewood team from last year that got to the region final. And some people might forget. I mean, they gave Miami Central. They gave them a little run. I would say the Spartans, and they loaded up this schedule this year with a lot of Miami teams. And trust me, I just seeing that at the end of the season, they got Chaminade Madonna, and seeing them in person. I mean, they're going to have their hands full that night. That is one of the most prolific offenses, not just in the state of Florida. We're talking about the country. So I believe that game's in St. Petersburg. So if you're in the area and you just want to see one of the top teams in the country, that'll definitely be a treat for all. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about Clearwater in terms of I haven't gotten to see him with my own eyes. Northeast either. I know they got Trey Worley, who transferred over from Clearwater. So kind of a dynamic with that he's they ended up losing to his old team 21-18 there in Clearwater's opener. So Northeast, and when I'm going through the rankings, I automatically start thinking of games as well, because they got that game tomorrow against Cardinal Gibbons that I'm kind of excited about. I think that's I know we're going to talk about the games this week, but that one's enticing to me. Northeast is an interesting team. I feel like we're going to learn a lot about where they're at tomorrow, because you win if they could pull off a win against Cardinal Gibbons tomorrow, man, that would be something that would speak volumes to where the Vikings are at. Can't forget about Largo. I mean, talented as all get out on defense. Obviously, got Darius Hayes on that defense. Malachi Peterson doing some good things on offense. I mean, just that you just have that loss to Lakeland, which I don't think anybody can look at and kind of say, "Oh, that's a bad loss." Even with Lakeland being at 1-2, I say kind of slow down. Lakeland's 2 losses are to 2 really good football teams. When you're looking at the Miami-Norland loss, Miami-Norland, in my opinion, is going to give Miami Central, I think, a run. So if that tells you how good Norland is, and what that Norland team was that beat Lakeland, and I think Largo's, I think defensively they're going to be fine. And then looking at the rest of it, Palm Harbor on a roll right now, 3-0. They're going to go up against Tarpon Springs in this newly minted rivalry game they got, Coast of the Clash, or Class of the Coast, I think that's what it's called. So kind of cool name. I can dig the name. I think honestly there should be more names for all these rivalries. I know that they're hard to come up with, but I like it. I like that name. And if you don't know how far Palm Harbor and Tarpon Springs are from each other, I mean, I don't know what time of the day some of you guys have got on alternate 19. I get on it, I think, on the worst time of the day. 1 lane north, 1 lane south, and it gets jammed up. But take that little bus ride north there to Tarpon Springs and that beautiful stadium. That's going to be a fun game, because you got some talent over there at Tarpon Springs and at Palm Harbor. So Hurricane Spongers, you got to like that. And yeah, I like the rankings. I think they're I don't know how much I could change it around outside of the middle. I think you could play around with, but I feel like you can mix and match a lot of those teams. I don't feel like you can be really that wrong at where you put them. I guess it's just your opinion of that team.
Right. Definitely, man. What you think, Green?
Yeah, Andy kind of alluded to the fact that, right when you get around the middle, you start to see you really start to see the separation as the season goes on. Like once they start playing each other, and you really start to see like which team is actually rising and which teams are actually falling. So after those first few couple of teams, then you kind of just feel like it's any team's game right now. Which team is going to stay hot and continue on the winning streak, and which team will eventually fall off. As I looked at the rankings from last week, I looked and seen the 3 teams that was in the top 10 that's no longer in there, which one being Lakewood, they're 0-3. You got CAI, who's 0-4, and then we have Osceola. I think they're 1-2 right now. And it just goes to show that one week the ranking will show you, at maybe number 6, maybe number 7, and then the next week you're not even in the rankings. So you're not even in the top 10 for that matter. So as the season goes along, we'll start to get a clearer picture of who's a pretender and who's a contender, I should say.
Definitely will, man. Definitely will, man. So that's our top 10. We just wanted to go ahead and run through that real quick. And now that, like I said, we ran through that, let's just go ahead and shoot to my boy Andy real quick, man, and get a couple questions in. So Andy, where are you from? How long has Scorebook, or how long have you been with Scorebook, or how long has that been going on? And what are the main areas that you cover, and what do you see as far as playoff potential within the county? Let's just start off with where you from, and how long has Scorebook been doing their thing?
Well, I am from I'm a Floridian. I was born in New York, and I family ended up moving down here into the Holiday Tarpon Springs area. I've been here ever since. Just been covering high school sports. Seven. Got my start with the Tampa Bay Times as a correspondent. You guys probably know the names of obviously John Cody and Joey Knight and Izzy Gold. Those guys kind of start with them, and then moved over to the Tampa Tribune. Started covering for them, covering Pasco County primarily, with some Pinellas County and Hillsborough sprinkled in. Obviously, when the Tribune was purchased by the Times, I rejoined them for a little bit, and also did freelancing with the Suncoast News and the Hernando Sun. I jumped on with a Scorebook Live, also known as SB Live Sports, last year in early in the summer. I believe it was June 2022. And I would say area of coverage, woo, that's broad. I would say right now it's the Southeast, if we're talking Florida and Georgia. I've made a couple trips into Georgia. So I've been as far north, if you are looking at South Georgia, I've been to Colquitt County and over at Glenn County High School, which is also the home of Brunswick High School and Glenn County Academy. And I've been as far south as St. Thomas Aquinas. So I would say anywhere you got a high school stadium and you got some teams playing, that's probably my area of coverage if it's in Georgia or Florida.
Okay, cool, man. Definitely. Yeah, me and Green, I'm pretty sure, and most of the people here watching, we definitely are fans, man. And you're definitely very quick on the trigger with the coverage, man, with the stats and everything. So we appreciate that because it makes our job a lot easier. So you cover. I see that you're. So is Pasco the main area?
I would say Pasco would be one of my top expertise. Pasco County Coast area. Obviously, I've had to really know all these regions to the best of my ability, but I would say strengths remain where I reside over, and that's the Pasco County area, but also really try to citrus really to know pretty well. So Tampa Bay region, I would say, if we had to say, is there a region you're most comfortable with? That would be here, Tampa Bay.
So what area do you feel? Well, what area do you feel is the strongest football wise as far as the entire Suncoast area? I would say. What do you what school what area, and then who would you say would be your top five schools out of Pasco, Hillsborough, and Pinellas?
Well, I hate to go against what Hillsborough has done over the past. I'd say Hillsborough County kind of has maintained that kind of, I don't want to say dominant, but they maintain that they have some pretty good programs year in and year out. Obviously, Jesuit just a couple years ago winning a state championship. They're not themselves this season, but you do have Armwood that's really on up. I have them now in our top 15 in our latest sports Power 25. Tampa Bay Tech, they started off hot this season. Wharton is another team. If I had to pick a county out of the Suncoast region, I would say Hillsborough. And then if I had to rank them, if we're talking about the aforementioned counties we've mentioned, I don't know if we're including Manatee and Sarasota in the mix, but for just Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, Hernando, and then we could give Citrus kind of like honorable mention. I would say Armwood's at the top. I think the Hawks have really shown that they are kind of back to their old ways a little bit, because you saw week one, that 34-25. That was, I don't think you could have somebody maybe more surprised than maybe myself. I know the guys over in Sumner are not surprised. Gerard Pringle went bonkers. I mean, he had over 300 yards rushing in that game. And then you got just that defense that's really kind of starting to come back. So I like Armwood right there at the top. I would probably have Tampa Bay Tech to follow, just because I think the preseason they lost to Venice. I had a certain, I don't know, I had a certain opinion about them because I'm like, man, you just got walloped by Venice. Is Venice like that good, or is Tech kind of down? And it was like, it was neither. I don't. Venice is still good. I think they're going to show over the next 7 games that they can get back Class 4S. But I think Tech is kind of right. They were from last season, and they got a good young quarterback in Logan Rogers. So I think they definitely have some pieces. Can't forget Rod Gainey at running back. So next, I'm going to say Wharton at 3 because I really like the defense piece they have and the quarterback Jackson Jensen. I think he's for like over 300 yards in at least games this year. And to tell you, I think he's going to throw for over 3,000. I think that's possible. I mean, and it's because the Wildcats are throwing the ball at the exorbitant rate. I mean, they're throwing it about 35, 40 times a game. So I think Jackson, we could expect him that season. We're going to now dip into Pinellas County, Clearwater Central Catholic against Trinity Catholic. They absolutely dominated that game. It's hard to say how much better this Otters team is from last year because obviously you lost Sapp in the backfield, which helped top running back in the area. Coach Harvey would always tell me he's the most underrated running back in the state. Like nobody's paying attention to this kid, and I got to see them twice, and I felt I didn't feel like he's the most underrated, but I do feel like people kind of slept on him a little bit. And then number 5, man, that's tough. I mean, I want to say Zephyr Hills because they're the top team in my opinion in Pasco County. I thought they kind of proved that last week when they beat Wiregrass Ranch 34-28. I thought that was kind of battle of who the best team in Pasco County was. I got a good look at them against Lake Wales in week 1, and they were last year Class 3. That was I don't know. I was meant that the approach in the game. I thought the Bulldogs would have some tricks up their sleeve because Lake Wales has a great defense. You got DJ Pickett, who's all. But I don't know. I mean, that number 5 spot. I mean, you could easily throw in Carrollwood Day. Carrollwood Day's really off to a real hot start. I could almost put them like 5B right there with Zephyr. And then if I was thinking of any other Pinellas County team, I mean, Calvary or Clearwater. To me, Clearwater, we're going to get a great look at what they're about against CCC, right? I mean, if they can give CCC a run for their money or beat them, obviously that's going to pick up a lot of things with the rankings you just showed.
Definitely, man. And let's just go ahead and just talking about that that CCC game. We have number 1 ranked CCC at our number 6 team, and Clearwater has a quarterback. I don't know if you've seen him much. His name is Jalen White. We're just starting to see him. A lot of people actually approached me about him last year. He didn't really get to play too much. He really didn't get to play at all. But so, from what I'm understanding, he's a good quarterback. So I think that this will be a big opportunity for him to really show the county and show the state what he is about. He's been pretty solid. The 2 games he's done what he's supposed to do. But I definitely think with him facing Newton, there's a little bit of added pressure for him to show up and really live up to what's been built. Of course, you got CCC. They have a very big line. I noticed that. They got Noah Brown on defense. Very talented secondary. We got McGee, Boatwright, who I'm really waiting to see. I'm really waiting to see a big game from him, the USC commit. But it's obvious that he's already done what he's needed to do to get to where he's needed to go. So that that's all good. I feel like this might be a game that brings a lot of recruiters. Of course, we got a player of the year candidate, also Trey McClellan, who
Mhm.
showed up very big the last 3 weeks. Very big. He was in our top 25, and he's a speedster. He's a speedster who could change the game. Doesn't need to touch the ball over 8 to 10 times per game to really make a difference. So what we gonna do is, man, let's see. I want to get you guys commentary on it, and I'm gonna drop a prediction right now. I got CCC 37 and Clearwater 19. What you guys thinking?
Wow. You can go ahead, Andy.
All right, you're gonna put the pressure on me here. I'm not seeing Clearwater, so I don't want Coach Thor Joswiak coming for me when I know he text from him and he'll be like, "What?" But yeah, I mean, obviously, just looking at kind of quick stats on Jalen, he obviously had a nice game his first outing, throwing 3 touchdowns against Northeast. I gotta say, they got obviously something brewing there, and it's that battle for Clearwater, right? I mean, because you got them, you got Calvary, you got CCC. It's kind of rare when all 3 teams are good at the same time, because it's like here Calvary was doing their thing, CCC was doing their thing, and then you had Clearwater kind of meandering out. Like you knew they were talented, but they weren't getting the results with wins. So this year, start off hot, 2-0, and then you're going up against CCC, who we all know are trying to get back to the Class 1M state championship game. I mean, I can't go against Coach Harvey from Maine, West Virginia. I mean, I can't do it. The Marauders, I think, are going to win this game. But I'll probably fall in line with what you're saying, but I'll go 35-22 Marauders over the Tornadoes. I think it's going to be a good, entertaining game. Got a lot of talent on the field with all the Power 5 prospects. I agree with you. There should be a bunch of recruiters there at the game looking at these kids. I mean, you just got – I'd say it's the battle for Clearwater at Jack White Stadium.
Yeah, it should be a pretty good game. I'm more interested in seeing is which players separate themselves. Like, we know that you have a bunch of good players that's together, but which player takes that next step to say, man, he really opened the game up. I know over at Clearwater they also have Gage Nix, who's a prospect who nobody really talks about. Kid is about 6'4", 6'1". He transferred from Clearwater, went to Lakewood last year, and then transferred back to Clearwater. So he's over there. A kid that I had as one of my top athletes. He plays both ways. And so just with him being quiet, really haven't heard much from him. And then like Royce, you alluded to, are we going to get a good big game out of Boatwright? The athletes are there, but will they show up in the big games? Will their name be highlighted to where we say, now that's the 4-star safety that we've been looking to see. That's the 3-star, athlete from Gage Nix that we've been looking to see. CCC players show up all the time. Every week you seeing Jashawn Newton in the paper. Every week you're seeing Trey McCullen in the paper. You're seeing their playmakers make the plays in the big games when it's their number is called. So I'm wondering and hoping to see if Clearwater can do the same thing when they play an opponent that can match them speed for speed and pound for pound, from that standpoint. But with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and lean towards CCC coming out on top, just because I think already CCC has been battle tested already with the teams that they played. And they've already kind of played the caliber of teams that Clearwater could be. So with that, like I said, I'm going to give CCC, I say about 35, and I'm looking at Clearwater probably about 18. So 35-18 is where I'll go.
All right, cool. All right, so next up we have a team. I haven't got to study Newberry a lot. I don't know if you know any much about them, Andy. Have you seen them play?
I have not seen them play, but I do know they got some talent over there in Newberry.
See, they got some. From what I've seen, they have a pretty balanced offense. They're getting 100 yards rushing, 100 yards passing. Defense is, I mean, they took a bad loss with their one loss, but they won 2 games. Decided very very nicely. So this is going to be not a pushover for Calvary. This is not going to be a pushover for Calvary. And I think that this will be a game. Every game is a game that we need Sean Kono to really run the ball. But this is a game, just from what I'm looking at. We need. I know that Jacob Drack is going to match whoever arm he's up against. That's no problem. But I need we need Sean Kono to to show up in this game. We know that he might be battling a small shoulder injury. I don't know how that is. I know shoulder injuries could be a little tender if you don't have the opportunity to rest them like you want to do those things. But I also saw last week that they spread him out a lot of receiver, which, as we talked about in ninth grade, this was a kid who he caught over 600 yards receiving. So they're trying to use him as much as possible, and they're using some backups who do have talent. Cavalry does have the talent. I don't know about the Newberry team, so I'm actually expecting this to be a close game. It's at Newberry, so of course, with them being at home, they might have a slight advantage. But I like Calvary just from what I've seen. Um, I like them to win around about 43-39. I like them to edge it out. I like Drackett to show up big, and I like the X Factor Josh Robinson. He stepped it up, but I really expect him. I like him to get 100 yards receiving, maybe take something back on special teams, give us a couple touchdowns, and really kind of make up for that rushing without Sean Kono. But if we could get 75 out of Sean Kono, I definitely love Calvary to win. What you think, Green?
Yeah, just not having too much, information or data on Newberry. Sometimes you kind of can tell, actually, look from the stats and kind of tell what a team is, and then you got to kind of look at who they played and the caliber of teams that they played prior to. But just knowing Calvary from that standpoint, I think they have enough without Sean Kono to give at least push this team to the limit. And so for my prediction on this, I think Calvary edges them out. It'll be a tough battle, but I think Calvary, ends up edging them out. And not so much on the score. Not sure on the score. I wish I had done a little more homework on Newberry. I don't want to slight them and say one way too high, one way too low. But I just say I think Calvary will win this game.
Well, whenever I see a team that's going on the road that traditionally plays on turf, it begins to worry me a bit because you're so used to playing on artificial turf that we all know what happens when you start playing on grass. Start to slow down.
Yep.
And that's what they're going to be playing on is grass. And I don't know if they're simulating that at all, but it's going to be a big difference because seeing the first 2 games that Calvary has played in, both were at home. So it's not like they got a little warm up on grass before they had to get on turf. They had to go to natural grass here this week. So Newberry's got some talent. The quarterback, Keelan McGriff, he's a talented signal caller. I know they got some weapons on defense, especially Marquez Carter. He had a big game this past week for them in their win. So that only loss, you can look at it 40-10 to Hawthorne, but Hawthorne's absolutely loaded. They won Class 1 rule last year, and covering the state and kind of seeing how the offseason shaped up or ended up shaping up too. they got a lot of transfers in. They had some kids come over from North Marion. They had some kids come over from the Villages, and these aren't just your run of the mill kids just transferring in that are just middle of the road football players. I mean, Alvin Isaac transferred to Hawthorne. He's a USF commitment. Andrew Zock from North Marion. He's a Power 5 prospect. So what I'm kind of getting to is Newberry lost to a pretty good football team. We're talking about the Gainesville area, probably one of the top teams outside of Buchholz. So I'm gonna go with Calvary, but I'm gonna say this is gonna be a lot harder than they may think. Because I would say if Newberry was playing in Clearwater, I'd say Calvary probably runs away with it just for almost the same reasons, because you got a team that's always played on grass now playing on turf, and you start to slip everywhere because you're not used to that turf. Right. Now you're going turf to grass, and that kind of slows you down. That's going to slow down Sean Kuno and Josh Robinson and Austin Ho and these guys. So they're going to have to, I think the second quarter, they're going to go good. Second half, I expect them to kind of get it together. I feel like they'll figure it out. I'm going to go 42-35 Calvary in this one.
All right, cool. All right, so next up, we got 2 top 10 teams. We got our number 8 ranked team, Tarpon Springs, and number 3, Palm Harbor. This is, like I say, this is a good game. Both teams traditionally, they haven't been this good in a long time, so it feels good to see them play. We got some key players from Palm Harbor. My key player is Gunnar Fedor, and for Tarpon, it's going to be Parkees Harris. And I think that the key for Palm Harbor is going to be Siebert. No turnovers in the red zone. He had one against St. Pete that could have changed the game. And he has to spread the ball around as much as possible. And also on defense, they're going to have to me, I think that Brady Messick needs to be moved around a little bit. He's a good athlete. I think that he's the type of athlete that could stand up, move around a little bit, shift around a little bit, kind of use his mental to move from strong side to weak side whenever he's ready. And I think that if he could get some good penetration, he could really stop, the type of run game that Tarpon Springs can provide, because Parkees Harris, he could have an okay game or he could have a great game. And if he has a great game, it's a great chance that Tarpon Springs is going to win. So I need, Palm Harbor to have some penetration, no missed tackles. And Gunnar Fedor, who I believe is the second or third ranked tackler, I'm going to need him to really, if he can, try to stop that run game as much as possible, because they do have Porter. He's a young kid. He has an okay arm, but he likes to run. So him along with Parkees Harris, they have a couple other backs. They have a big playmaker over there in Jalen Irby. If he could get off 1 or 2 plays per game, that gives Tarpon Springs a chance. But I like. I really don't know who to predict on this game. But I just kind of wanted to throw out both factors for the game. And even with Tarpon, I need the quarterback Porter, if he could get us 75 to 100 yards passing with a little bit of rushing, a little mix of Parkees Harris, they could win. Now, the defense, a lot of people don't know, is Nathan Carter. He ran for over 200 yards last week. Even though Osceola lost, Nathan Carter, in his first game back for the season, still ran for over 200 yards. So that should let Brady Messick and some of those guys know that the defense is wide open to kind of exploit a little bit. But if the Tarpon Springs defense could show up, stop those guys, and then get that running from Parkees Harris, Tarpon can win. But if Palm Harbor can stop that run game, that's going to put them in a big advantage. What you think, Andy?
Well, teams coming off the wins from last week. You got Palm Harbor coming off that 35-2 win over Sun Lake. I know Sun Lake is a team in a rebuilding mode right now. Had a lot going on the last year and a half over there. So, but a nice win for the Hurricanes. sets them up for this clash of the coast here between these two teams. And you got Tarpon Springs. Stop the Spongers. These guys are 2-0, and they're coming off a big win against Osceola, 30-10. And yeah, you see that name Parkes Harris, and then you see the numbers, and they're just like eye popping. He went for 256 this last game, and seems like anytime he touches the ball, I mean, you could hold your breath. I mean, he might go the distance. He's the game breaker in his own right, and yeah, I mean, and you look at these two teams and you look at their schedule. It's like, I mean, outside of Tarpon's played one less game, but it's like mirror images when you're looking at the kind of the scores. I mean, you got Tarpon to start off the season to get the 17-14 win, and then you got Palm Harbor beating St. Pete in that thriller in overtime. That game was. Man, I wish I went. I think I was about to go down there to cover that, and like I've been to so many games this year. That was one I said, dang it, should have. But I mean, Palm Harbor just impressive with points, and some of the guys you mentioned Gunnar Fedor. He's had a nice season so far. I like what doing offensively. They do a lot of everything. It's like when you watch them offensively, you really can't kind of get a gauge on them because they're trying to do so many things throughout the game. You know teams that just want to line up and spread more wide or they want to go empty. Palm Harbor's like, we'll throw everything at you. We'll throw a million formations at you. We'll see what you can how you align. It's kind of a line and assign football. So Jeremy Friad is going to have his team ready defensively to get up against these offensive formations that they're going to have them against. Picking a winner, this is about as true as a coin flip between these two teams. I think they're that close. Yeah. And I think you guys picking this as the game of the week in Pinellas County, great pick because these two teams, honestly, when you look at both of them on paper, I mean, you would just be like, these teams are right there. They're 1A, 1B. You know what? I'm gonna go with Tarpon Springs match their win total from a couple years ago. I'm gonna go with the away team. I'm gonna say Tarpon Springs goes into Palm Harbor, and they're gonna win. Let's say 2019. 2019.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I can see this type of game coming down to maybe a field goal in the end. I remember back when like Reggie Kroom, and even before Reggie Kroom, because Reggie Kroom was at Palm Harbor before he went to Calvary. But even before then, I think it was Coach Scargo, was it, Andy? And this Tarpon Springs Palm Harbor rivalry, with them being so close, is the definition of backyard rivalry, pretty much. You know, with them being so close, and just every game that I've been a part of, working with guys from Palm Harbor. And going, it's nuts. Like, I mean, the atmosphere is electric, and you know for a fact that it's Palm Harbor, Tarpon Springs. So I can see a good game coming down to probably like a field goal. It'll be close. Whoever has the ball last to on the final drive to kick the winning field goal. So, but I think I'm gonna go with Andy. I think I see Tarpon Springs pulling this one out. Parkes Harris having a big game running the ball. And you know, them pushing to 3-0. So I'll say probably around the same score, probably like a 22-19 win.
Okay, cool, man. And before we move on to our next game, hopefully you guys see the ticker across the bottom. We have stats from everybody. We have the stat leaders, the top 5 stat leaders. So hey, if you guys have any disputes, any comments, anything, go ahead and throw them in there. But that is what we have. That's what's been put in there. And those are the top 5 stat leaders. So the next game that we have up, guys, is number 4, Largo, going Gibbs going to number 4, Largo. Usually, for some reason, I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout. Gibbs is a team, they have a lot of talent. And they could show up any type of way. You cannot sleep on them. And knowing Marcus Pascal, knowing how the players are at Largo, they're not gonna sleep on them. So knowing that side of things too, I think that Largo might there's a good chance Largo might overpower them, but Gibbs has the talent. Gibbs could show up. Gibbs could surprise you. Fernando Maynor, if he shows up, he's been okay so far. If he could show up and sling it a little bit, Gibbs get a turnover or two. If Gibbs could get a turnover or two, that's when you start to see some things from Gibbs. That's when you start to see a little bit of special Gibbs. They start to get a little bit. They start to get motivated a little bit, and then you could see a whole different game. But I have Largo. Largo pretty much going to Gibbs and dominating. Um, it might be. I don't even want to give a prediction on this because Gibbs they try to ride me and say I don't go with them, but I really believe they have the talent. But Largo has the experience, man. Hayes, Green, Jacoby McDaniel, Kalu. They just have a very senior laden team that's experienced. So I'm going with the experience on this one. I'm not even going to give a score. I'm just going to say Largo for the win. What do you think, Andy?
Well, Gibbs is a strange team from week 1 to week 2 because you look at that Palmetto game, and I saw Palmetto in the spring against Jesuit, and something I came away with, which I know Palmetto lost Zamarian Lang, who's a talented athlete. He ended up transferring to, I believe, Cardinal Mooney. You look at this. You look at this Gibbs team. You look at that. You look at that. Or against Palmetto, 32-26, and you come away, I think, just saying to yourself, they have to do things this season. And like you mentioned, Fernando Maynor, he had a nice game, that opening game, and then I don't know what happened between week 1 and week 2, or their next game against Northeast, but good golly, Miss Mom. I mean, at 46-0, you would not expect that after what they did in week 1, because that has some talent. They are a talented team, and that was obvious from the preseason because I believe Palmetto played Lakewood in the preseason. If I'm, and I think they see toe to toe. So Gibbs is just a weird team at this point. I'm kind of conflicted on what to exactly think of them. Are they? It's like they're the Dr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde type team. They could be one team, could be the other. And you got Largo, who we talked about earlier, and they take care of business against Ellis Park. They lose to Lakeland, but no shame in that. And then they bounce back and they beat Boca Ciega by 23. So got to roll with Largo in this one. I mean, you got to go with what makes sense. I mean, I guess all that matters, or what the intrigue may be behind this game, is how close could this game be? Could it be like when Gibbs played Palmetto? Could they make it, or do they just get blown out of the yard? I mean, I'm with you. I don't know. It could be. I could say it could be a 35-34 game. I could say it's going to be a 35-7 game. I mean, it could really be either or, depending on what Gibbs Gladiators team shows up.
All right. What you think, man?
I had an opportunity to see them personally last week, and just from the type of team they are, it's like they're scary when they're hot, but when the team kind of punches them in the mouth and they get down, it kind of like it's almost like they go into a I don't want to say they tuck their tails and kind of go into like they feel like, okay, here we go again, we're back on this losing streak. But whatever they do is kind of like contagious. So if one player isn't playing bad, it kind of like it's like a domino effect. So I'm interested to see who rallies the troops if they get down early, and if they can come back and fight and punch. Because last week when during the Northeast game. They started out like yeah, we're in this, and then one thing led to the next, and then it kind of just snowballed, and then the next thing you know is 46 to nothing. So um, I will say Largo is probably the more talented team as a whole. Um, but I think, like you said, Andy, it depends on which Gibbs team show up. Um, but I'm going to take Largo in this one, man, just because Largo is the type of team. Of course, again, they've been battle tested. Once you play a team like Lakeland, who's full of athletes and studs, you kind of now start looking for that type of player every week. And then when you play against a team that's less dominant, you say, man, you kind of feel or have that momentum to say, we've seen this before. The guys that we played against was a little better caliber. What I don't want is they take Gibbs lightly, and then, like you say, you got a 34-35 ball game, and now everybody wondering what happened. But I don't think Marcus Pascal will let his guys get to that point where they take it, because I know a lot of them are seniors. They have a heavy senior class of guys, a lot of prospects who's trying to raise their stock as far as. So I think they're going to take this game seriously, and I think Largo runs away with this one. And I'll say the score will probably be like 35-10.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. All right, cool. So we talked about a game earlier, Cardinal Gibbons at number 5 Northeast. We got about 3 more games to talk about. So Cardinal Gibbons in the Northeast. Cardinal Gibbons, of course, they lost to Chaminade 41-4. Like you said with the Lakeland, with Lakeland Largo, there's no shame in that at all. When I watched their film, most of it is of Merdinger. Matthew Merger, the quarterback from Gibbons, he's pretty much the key to their offense. They have a spread offense. The receivers have good size, good speed. They're spreading it out. And man, when you look at their tape, the middle of the field is always open, and you may find a guy either running across that Murder is going to hit, Murder is going to run, or he's going to make a good throw. You know what I'm saying? And find somebody open. That's the type of offense they have. But it definitely does center around them. They went up to North Carolina, beat Cardinal Gibbons up in North Carolina, which is a good, they're not a bad team. Murdiger hasn't made any mistakes this year. He's had 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So you have that gunslinger factor. They're not a big running team unless he's the one running the ball. So, Murdiger that offense is going to center around what you could do with him. So I think a key to Northeast is big Travion James. He's somebody that a lot of people don't know about. Big number 1. He's one of those kids who he has that size to really make a difference. I just want to see that motor crank up and stay there. You could tell that he knows he has the talent. He knows that he could block. He knows that people can't really block him. But we need to see a Sean Sevillano type domination out of him. He's young, but he does have enough to penetrate and get the Murdiger and kind of get Murdiger off track a little bit. So to me, that's really going to be the key is him. Northeast they have a good, decent secondary that can give James the time to really get in there. But that linebacker core is going to be key. That linebacker core is going to be key because if the middle of that field is open and they leave it open because they're chasing around and Murder, he could take off for a good 15-20 and really take advantage of, the linebackers in Northeast. So those linebackers from Northeast, they're gonna need a spy on them, on him. And the corners from Northeast are really gonna have to show us that they're, Marshall, some of those other guys are really gonna have to show us what they about. So our offense need a good game from Trey Worley. We're going to definitely need 100 yards rushing. And our offense, they're going to need a big game from Marshall or either Inman, who they had a big game from last week if they want to win. Um, I just don't know. But I think Northeast definitely has the capability to win if they could contain Murdiger. So if they could contain him, I could see them winning. It'll be close, 28-21 maybe, but if they can't, it's going to be tough. If Merger gets off to a hot start and they lead that it open, it's going to be it could possibly be a blowout.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's crazy because the head coach at Cardinal Gibbons was my receiver coach in college. So me and him have a good rapport. That's Coach Mac the Buck. Shout out to him. He's been real instrumental in my progression as a prospect athlete or whatever. So, but he always keeps a good team. He's been around the game a lot. He even played in the CFL. He was a receiver at Texas Tech, and he knows football. And we all know Cardinal Gibbons. They were the team that beat Lakewood, not this previous year, not the last year, but the year before. On the year they had Jurassic and Terrell, they went down and played Cardinal Gibbons, and they lost that game. And Cardinal Gibbons went on to win the state championship. I believe that year. If not, they were in the game. But with all that being said, Cardinal Gibbons, they schedule teams to prepare, sort of like Lakewood. They schedule teams that's bigger, that's a little more, outside of their range to prepare them for later on down in the postseason type games. And so, with that being said, I just think that there'll be a little much for Northeast. Northeast can probably hang in the game with them for a while, but I think just the overall coaching, the players that they have at Cardinal Gibbons, and then them being battle tested for the teams that they consistently play. As far as down in the Fort Lauderdale area, in the Miami area, there's no letdowns or there's no weeks off. So it's kind of like as Andy would say, the SEC of high school football. Like Cardinal Gibbons can play Shamadad 1 week and then turn around and play St. Thomas and then turn around and play a Northern team. So they constantly have those type of games that, you got to bring your A game every game. And so with that being said, I think that this is the type of game that Gibbons can come in and handle a team like Northeast. And I don't think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be by a large margin.
Well, last year, Northeast went down there and it was 34-6. And I think maybe top points of the game, the Vikings were competitive. They were able. I mean, they get absolutely blown out of off the field. I mean, 34-6. You could probably speak to points during the game where they might have held their own there. Cardinal Gibbons, first 3 games, I mean, they went against Cardinal Gibbons up in North Carolina. That was kind of shaky for them. I know that was a game that they I think a lot of people down in South Florida maybe thought they might kind of run away with. Shama Madonna, yeah, I can't hate on that. I mean, 41-4. I mean, the team they just Chaminade came from New Jersey, Bergen Catholic, and they beat them 61-21. And when I saw them against St. Francis Academy, I mean, that team's a real deal. So then they bounced back. They beat Dillard 38-14. Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with Merdinger, who's a North Carolina commitment at quarterback. He's played flawless at the quarterback position. No interceptions, 7 touchdowns. His go-to guys, I mean, he's got a few of them, but watch out for the tight end, Colton Heinrich. He's a Georgia commitment. He's someone you got to kind of keep an eye on. I mean, their defense, kind of what they've really held their hat on is playing good defense and timely offense. I'm not going to go all the way to say an upset could happen because Northeast, I think, would have to – they got to pull every trick out of the bag. I think they're going to have to throw the kitchen sink at them and then some. They're going to have to really be unorthodox, I think, in this game. I would say against any of the Pinellas County teams, you run your offense, you do what you normally do, but you get the big dog in town like Cardinal Gibbons. I think if you're Northeast and that coaching staff, any trick plays you might have ever practiced, run one.
Bring it back.
You got to have a gap play happen, a couple gap plays. You need a couple game-altering plays to win this game because you make your players believe that they can win the game. And if you get a couple scores on Cardinal Gibbons, all bets could be off. You can really say this could be a game. And Cardinal Gibbons is another one of those teams that they're used to playing turf. They're always, for the most part, when they pick North Carolina, that game was actually here in Florida, and that was on turf at their place. Then they played China, that was on turf. I believe when they played Dillard, that was grass. They played fun. But you travel out of your area, you're out of your comfort zone. You're not in your normal area of where you know kind of where things are at. Like Dillard, this is a place they've been to plenty of times. Northeast is not. So that I don't know what the crowd will be like tomorrow night, but hopefully they did a lot of promoting of this game and kind of telling every student and every teacher and alumni, please come out, back to stand, because any way they could kind of pressure on Cardinal and create a kind of a I don't know, crazy environment that could help towards maybe an upset. But I'm gonna say Cardinal Gibbons pull it off. I'm gonna go 28. I'm gonna go 28-14. I think the Vikings get touchdowns on the board. I think Cardinal Gibbons is good enough to pull it out. But let me just say, record, I'm not against like the possibility of an upset here. I think it could happen, but the Vikings, once again, they're gonna have to be unfortunate. They're gonna have to do some things, really kind of change the complexion of this game. Gap play.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So we got three more games. Well, two more besides this one. Let's talk about it real quick. Pinellas Park at Lakewood. That's tomorrow night. Let me go ahead and throw this out there. Very, very close game last year. I think that this could be another very close game due to the fact that Lakewood's offense is still questionable. Um, Pinellas Park defense is very stout. Lakewood's offensive line is not up to par to me to stop what Pinellas Park is bringing as far as their defensive line. Like I said, you got three players, 17 sacks altogether. You got Greg Thomas showing up. He's one of the top in the state. Um, Lakewood, I think, can keep it close due to the fact that Pinellas Park does not have much of a throwing game. They're going to rely on Triplet and a couple other guys. You know, they're going to do their traditional running. And I think that Willoughby, Hartwell, and some of those other guys can definitely focus enough to really shut that down. I think that Lakewood might be able to pull this one out if we can really just get some Lakewood athleticism and get that offense going. Lakewood does have the ability to pull this out. I think it's going to be very close. I think Lakewood can win 10-7. I think Lakewood could make 10-7, or it could be the other way around. Pinellas Park winning 10-7. But I think with the limited offenses and with Lakewood's limited line play, that's going to really limit the scoring. And I think it's going to be very close. What you think, Andy?
Yeah, I gotta agree. And the game is it's so weird just seeing no wins next to Lakewood's name. But you look at their schedule with Miami, Palmetto, and Homestead. Those are a couple teams I have in our Power 25 rank for the state. So those aren't two losses I'm gonna really harp on. I mean that start to the season, that loss to Northeast, which I was kind of, I know Nick Trier's a guy coming over from Braden River. I saw him play last year. I think it was against Port Charlotte. And I was like, he's a good quarterback. I mean, but obviously last year, no one can deny the talent that Anthony Calandria was at that quarterback position. I mean, he shows it now on Saturdays at Virginia. So, and I got to see him against Tampa Catholic. That really he balled out. I it's hard to go against this Pinellas Park team that really just it seems like week in and week out. I know they got the one loss to Largo, but I mean we know Largo a well-coached team and weren't far off from trying to make things interesting against Lakeland. I mean I'm gonna I want to just go with P Park on this. I want to say they're gonna even though a little bit of saying you need to just say Lakewood so Corey Moore doesn't kind of say what the heck, like what do you think? But you're 0-3. I'm kind of just wondering what's the psyche over I mean that I don't know the last time that I can't remember the last time the Spartans started off 0-3. I think we'd have to the dives. It's been a long time, really. I mean,
15 years.
Yeah, I mean, and the schedule they put together. I mean, this is just a monster of a schedule. Because after this, they're going to play Miami Edison. They're a good South Florida team. They will get them at home, so that's the solace they can take in that. Then you get a reprieve. You get to play Boca Ciega. They should win that game. Southridge, I would say Lakewood could or should game. Then you get Gibbs. Like we said earlier, depends what Gibbs decides to show up. Largo, we're going to have to say that's going to be a really tough game, and I don't think I need to touch any more on Chaminade Madonna and how. So this is just one of many, and I think Pinellas Park, this is kind of a statement game for them at this point. They get week in Holland. You have Clearwater later on in the schedule in Northeast, but most of these other games for them, I think Pinellas Park will be, if there is such a thing, favored. They'll be the favorite. So they could have a 6-4, 7-3 type season. I think for them, this kind of would exude some, I don't know, dominance in that southern end of Pinellas County, and they're going to really want this game. So I'm going to go Pinellas Park. I don't know. I mean, it's been tough sledding for Lakewood offensively, so I'm going to go lower scoring. I'm going to go 16-14 Pinellas Park.
Yeah, I'm right with you, Andy. I've seen where one of the starting running back was in the sling for Lakewood. They had another kid who I think he was either the backup or he was on the special return team. He got a concussion last week while they were down at Homestead. So they're a little beat up right now. And just I think the running attack of Pinellas Park will eventually wear them down. And then from not being able to score and with the defense having to be out on the field so much, I think that's their Achilles heel, not being able to produce anything on offense, and then the defense make a stop, and then the offense goes 3 and out, and they're right back out on the field. So I think that's kind of what's caused a little of the headache from a tiring defense who works hard to stop a team from getting a first down, and then the offense quickly goes 3 and out. So I see Pinellas Park eventually just wearing them down and kind of maybe pulling away close at the beginning and then kind of pulling away at the end. Still think it'll be a close game, but I'm thinking maybe like a 22-6.
Okay, cool. All right, so the last two games we got two kind of small teams, two teams we probably haven't seen yet. Number 9, Indian Rocks Christian at St. Pete Catholic. From what I've seen with St. Pete Catholic, they look like they're trying to make a comeback. They do have some talent there. Kid named Kenneth Vetter. They have a kid named Christopher Tank, Demarion Rowe. They do have some talent there. But this is just it's still rebuilding mode over there in Indian Rocks Christian. They're not on a lot of people's radar because they don't play a lot of strong competition. I did see them play against CCC last year, and they showed up. Anthony Harris, they got a young kid over there. He showed up. They got another kid, Brent Scott. They're showing up, and against the competition they play, they can win out. you know what I'm saying, against the competition that they do play. So I'm just gonna say that Indian Rocks, they're gonna show up. Anthony Harris, this is a kid that is on my radar. He's a 10th grade, he's an athlete, a linebacker, running back, receiver. He's a stud, and I don't know if he's gonna stay there, you know, all 4 years. If he does, good for Indian Rocks. I think that eventually with his type of talent, he will have to play some better competition to really get the type of offers that he can get. But just talking about this game, Cannon Vet, I love him. He's the type of kid where I think that he doesn't have to play the greatest competition to really show what he has. He's going to be, I think, the next best throwing quarterback coming into next year. I don't really know what this game is going to be, but just from what I've seen, I think that Anthony Harris is going to have a great game, and Indian Rocks Christian is probably going to win about 30. It's going to be 30-21. Indian Rocks Christian. What you think, Green?
Um, I'm along with you on those on that. I think Indian Rocks is should be able to pull it out. And you know what's so crazy about these two schools is that I think both of them is still undefeated, right? Um,
No, actually, St. Pete Catholic didn't has not won a game.
oh, they haven't won a game. Okay, okay,
But it's been both close, but they have not won.
okay. So yeah, I think Indian Rocks takes this game, pushes uh push their record up a notch, one more win under their belt. And you know, like you said, that kid Cannon Vetter, I like him as well. I got an opportunity to see his film. Hopefully he can keep them in the game, you know, and make it competitive. You know, with these small schools, you just never know how it's going to turn out because they got their own little rivalry, you know, kind of like the big schools, they got their rivalries.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure this is a rivalry as well. So you just never know how St. Pete Catholic's going to come out for this game. I just hope it's an exciting game, and that you know the best players, you know, just come out and play good ball. But I'm going to go Indian Rocks on this one as well.
Make it in Rocks 3 in a row. I mean, I'm just taking a look at their schedule so far. I mean, and one takeaway immediately is they can score points. I mean, uh, three three games in a row, got 48, 46, 33 uh, up against Holland, Steffner Christian, and Brooksville Central. And I mean, defensively, only giving up 3 touchdowns this year,
Mm.
playing really good ball. You got St. Pete Catholic on that other end. I mean, they had a shootout against Bayshore to open the season. I know Jaden Judge for Bayshore had a huge game at running back. Don't know too much about the Masters Academy over in Oviedo, so they lost that game 2018. Um, they're another team. I mean, I feel like if anything we can kind of take away from this game is there'll be some points. I mean, both teams have the capability. I'm going to go with Indian Rocks Christian though. They're undefeated for a reason. I'm going to go with them. Say 42-21. I think they're just going to be too for St. Pete. Like I got to see them. I think last year in a I think it was in the preseason playing like with another team. But I mean, they do got some talent. They got some guys. They got some dudes. I just think they're. I mean, are we gonna ever see the Barons again? Kind of in that, competing in the playoffs and making a run. I mean, we'll see. I mean, if they could somehow win here, I mean, that would definitely point toward and get them in the right direction because then they got some games down the stretch. Newman, Northside Christian, St. Stephen's, LaBelle, Lachlan, and Christian. I mean, they got some games that you would have to say if they could win this game, they could win a lot of those.
Right. All right, cool. In the last game, we got number 10 Seminole. They snuck up a little bit. They beat Dunedin last week. They snuck in with the 2-0. And we got Countryside. Uh, they're Countryside. So this is just this is just one of those games where I mean Countryside, you never know. They could sneak up this kid Jeffords. He's been catching the ball a little bit. They got a decent team, but Seminole, they have a running game. They got a big back with Terry Jones. He's a top 25 player from linebacker last year. Had 100 tackles. He's playing a little bit of running back. Then they got another back that's running the ball as well. Let's see what his name is. His name is DeAndre Nelson. He's getting about 90 yards per game. Um, Countryside is going to need, they're going to need a solid game from their quarterback, and they got a couple other players, also Javar Williams. And you never know. This is one of those games that you never know could show up. I'm gonna be honest with you. Throughout the week, I really thought I should have put CAI at number 10, even though they have not won. Their strength of schedule is crazy. They're still ranked number 26 in the state, even though they've taken these losses. So that was kind of the game I'll fight with, but we're gonna give Seminole their just due, and I'm gonna ride with Seminole on this. I can't really give a score. I don't think it's gonna be a large scoring game because Seminole doesn't really have a lot of passing. It has a lot of running. I think DeAndre Nelson, he's a good athlete, so I'm gonna take Seminole in this one. But as soon as we're done talking about this game, I'm gonna talk about something real quick before we go. But I'm gonna take Seminole on this one. What you think, Andy?
This 2-0 Sanchez in his second season. Got to see them last year. I believe it was the first game that I saw all of in 2022. They were playing against Boca Ciega, and Boca Ciega got them in his first game. But I mean, I liked a lot of things about the Warhawks. I thought they had some guys on offense that could really make some plays, and looks like Augie's kind of settling in there pretty good down in Seminole. You gotta like these first couple games of 2 wins, and then I'm looking at this. They win this game, you could make the argument with Holland, Osceola, and St. Petersburg upcoming. They could run the table all the way to the game, and you get a home game, Largo, and we all know at 6-0 what that confidence can do for you when you're undefeated. I mean, you feel like you're on top of the world. You could beat anybody, right? So, I'm not going off and saying they're going to beat the Packers, but hey, I mean, if you're 6-0, it's like Popeye eating the spinach. Your arms become bigger, and all of a sudden you're ready. You could do anything. So, I'm gonna go with Seminole to win this game. Countryside, coming off that 56-6 shellacking by Clearwater. They didn't play the River Ridge game, obviously, because went on. They did open up with that big win against Dunedin. I mean, Seminole did the same thing. I mean, both teams scored 48 against Dunedin. That's kind of a coincidence there, but I'm going to go with the undefeated team to stay undefeated, and I mean, I'm going to say I think they can go 6-0, guys. I think they can go to that Largo game.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep it sweet and short and sweet. Seminole with the victory this week.
All right, cool, man. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to share just our player of the year candidates real quick before we get our final thoughts. And I wanted to get a thought from you, Andy, about what you think. Now, with our player of the year, we got them kind of ranked. We have Newton number 1. We got Jeff Jones, St. Pete number 2, awesome athlete, and we got Antoine Raymond number 3. So we just go talk about the first 3. Have you gotten a chance to see Antoine Raymond play, Andy? And if you have, what's your opinion, even just on film? From what you've seen, what is your opinion about him? Because he's a new kid on the block, but I mean he has almost double what our number 2 rusher has.
I have not seen him play, but in talking with people around the state, one person, a colleague, John Santucci with USA Today, Antoine Raymond is really he's been an impressive prospect here at the running back position. I know. Don't believe he played when they were up against Homestead, but since then he's really kind of shown up, and he's proved to be a very good back. I would say just kind of hearing from people, just talk about him, just how high they are on him. He's obviously leading the state for a reason, right? With the 746 rushing yard. He's been somebody that, and we've been talking about the schedule they put together, which is a unbelievably tough schedule. I think that's what's keeping them, uh, with everybody kind of wanting to rank them, because you're like, you don't want to penalize them for having this ultra tough schedule, and they're playing somebody every week. And when we say somebody, we're saying they're playing a team that can make some noise in the playoffs. They're going to compete for a state championship. So yeah, I mean, Antoine Raymond definitely, especially with the production he's right now at the running back position. I mean, you got to have him as one of the top players in Pinellas County.
Definitely, definitely, man. And before we get to you, Green, the thing about it, I was so, this year, I was, Sean Cono, Sean Kuno, Sean Kuno. And then this guy just popped up on the scene, and it's like, man, he just is kind of like has shaken it up. And I think it's a positive. He's gonna bring some recruiters to the county, along with a lot of other kids that whose names aren't big as CAI, but I think this kid has that type of potential to he has that Alabama, Florida State type potential. You know what I'm saying? When you see him run and his balance and how he runs, and just you don't see any undis you don't you see a lot of discipline when he runs. What have you seen him, Green? Have you gotten a chance to watch the film?
I have not had a chance to watch the film, but just from his stats alone, uh, you can already see what type of back he is. Like you said, he almost doubled what the our second, back has at 300 and something yards. He's already, close to pushing eight, almost close to 800 yards. So, which he probably will get that this game, and then who knows where he lies in the state, if as far as that goes. And then not only that, but with them being 0-4 and with the caliber of teams that they've already played, to have put up those type of numbers just speaks about the type of talent he is. So kudos to him. Hats off to him making the transition from coming from another area. Not exactly uh, quite sure where he's from, but I'm pretty sure he moved down here from another area. And he came right in and took the hat by the reins, and he's proven that he can play against any type of talent and any caliber of team that they face. I will say that I don't want to discredit any of these other guys that's on the list, because it's still a long season, and anything can happen, especially how nimble and shifty Jeff Jones is. They got him back on kickoff returns. He's playing quarterback. Anyway, they can get the ball in his hands. Then you got Drackett, who's throwing the ball all over the field. You got Newton, who's just a stellar athlete who makes plays after plays. Right now, Darius Hayes is leading the area, the county in tackles. And it's just all of these guys, like I said last week or the week before, that all of them are worthy of being players of the year candidates. And that's why they're on the list now. So, just hats off to them for the talent that they possess and just exude every Friday night up under those lights. And again, the game plan is to stop these guys, and they still come in and put up big numbers and still are able to defy the odds and make things happen. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out as the season goes along, and see who pretty much rise to the top and stay up there, and continue to be dominant. So
So, man, I'm gonna end this with some final thoughts. Um, Honestly, I have a question. How do you feel about CAI, Andy? And as far as I guess, do you hear a knock on them around the state as far as them bringing in kids? Do you hear any of those whispers? Like we hear in Pinellas County as far as how they're doing things. And what's your thought on them as a football program? Oh, can you hear me?
Andy may be on mute.
Oh, I think he
Look like he dropped off, huh?
yeah, he dropped. It looked like he might have dropped off, but that's all good. Let me see. It's all good. But yeah, I was just gonna give final thoughts, but we'll just go ahead and run with it, man. Another big week, another strong week from the teams, and I'm just hoping, man, we see some good football. Got 3 big games tomorrow. Largo, the Lakewood Pinellas Park game, and what other game? Oh, Northeast and Cardinal Gibbons. So, guys, make sure you pick wisely, pick which one's best for you, and shoot those stats to us, guys. The ones who are playing Thursday, shoot those stats to us. I know a lot of you guys will be at the games Friday. So enjoy yourself, be safe out there. You got any other thoughts, Green, before we get off here?
No, just be looking for us putting some stuff out. I know Pinellas High School Media Group does a great job of putting out content as far as players, their stats. He does a week schedule with his predictions and stuff. So make sure you guys stay tuned and look for that, as well as me, Green Zone Preps. I make sure I try to do a week of the marquee matchup. So I try to pick the best 3 games and then kind of give my opinions on who and where I feel that each team has the advantage, and then also put a prediction for that. So, make sure you guys look out for that content where you can kind of read about what your favorite teams are doing, kind of where they stand, and where they will fare going into the week as they prepare for the games of the week that we put up. So, but other than that, man, I can't wait to see what happens with our top 10, see how they fare, see who rises and who falls for this next coming week. So it'll be exciting.
All right, man. We went long today, an hour and a half, man.
Oh yeah,
We'll
oh yeah,
talk.
we
Yeah,
in here,
yeah,
baby.
yeah. We'll talk a little bit later. Green, Andy,
Yeah,
man. I know you said you couldn't hear me. I don't know if you can hear me now. I don't
there
know if
he
you can
is.
hear me now, Andy.
There he is.
Before you get off, I had a question for you. What do you think of CAI? Have you heard any knock around the state as far as how they're doing things, how they're bringing in players? What's your thought on them as a football program?
I haven't heard any knocks. I mean, people kind of know like they have kids coming down from Canada, and they play this almost like IMG Academy like schedule where they play all of the top teams around the not only the state, but I mean they try to seek out teams around the country. So I mean, right now, just kind of taking a look at their schedule. I mean, and I look at these back end of games where they got Miami Palmetto, Brentwood Academy, Sarasota Riverview, Lakeland, University Christian, and Venice. Whew,
See, that's crazy.
that is unbelievable schedule. I mean, I cannot tell you how difficult the level of difficulty week to week they've got it. And because you got the 2 teams that were in the Class 4S state championship game in a 3-week period. You got University Christian that recently played in a state championship game.
Wow.
Minnesota Riverview is a loaded team. They even though they lost Charles Lester III to Venice, they've got some talent. Miami Palmetto is a very tough team, and the teams they've already played. I mean, Benjamin, Edgewater, Columbus, Homestead in the preseason. You got to give Coach Chinchar, even if they have a losing record, you got to give him credit. He put together one of the toughest schedules, top to bottom, and I don't think, you know what, they don't have any effect when it comes to the playoffs. They don't participate in it. They play in their independent playoff, whatever it is. I checked it out last year. They played I think True Prep Academy last year, kind of beat the heck out of them. So
Yeah.
it was they won that. So I mean, I think if anything else, there's actually more respect for them because a lot of schools just look at them and go, they got all this talent. They want to play the best. I mean, what's the knock on that? I mean, if you got it, as long as you're loading up with all these players, you're playing an independent schedule, and then you're playing, teams that aren't on your level, then I think people would have a problem. if they were kind of going around and beating up, the teams that aren't of their caliber, and then enjoying it and going 10-0 and being like,
Right.
oh, all these games. Like, no, they seeked out the best. They're getting the best, and I think there's more of a kudos to that than there is any quote unquote hating on that. I don't think people are doing.
Cool, man. Well, I know I appreciate you coming through, Andy, man.
Absolutely.
You know,
Thank
we
you, sir,
definitely gonna
for
we
having
definitely
me.
gonna
Come
talk,
on.
man, and definitely gonna be getting up with you soon.
Hey,
I
thank you
appreciate you
for having
boys, man, and we'll all talk soon.
Yes,
me.
sir.
Thank you
All
so
All
much.
right,
right.
talk to you
Enjoyed it
guys
today,
later.
fellas. Y'all have a good
All
one.
right, all right, cool.